the warning ignored. The crystal spires of New Centauri Station gleamed against the backdrop of three setting suns as representatives from across the galaxy gathered for the monthly Interstellar Commerce Guild meeting. The massive station, built at the crossroads of major trade routes, housed diplomats, merchants, and military officials from hundreds of different species. Today's meeting would be different from the usual trade disputes and territorial negotiations. Today they would discuss the humans. Ambassador Thexon of the Vorthak Empire stood before the assembled delegates, his imposing 8-foot frame casting long shadows across the chamber floor. His reptilian features bore the scars of countless battles, and his golden eyes held the wisdom of someone who had ruled star systems for over 3 centuries. The Vorthak were known throughout the galaxy as conquerors, a proud warrior race that had never backed down from any challenge. "Fellow beings of the Commerce Guild," Thexon began, his voice carrying the authority of absolute power, "we gather today to address a growing concern. The human expansion into our territories has become increasingly bold. Their merchant vessels travel through our space without proper tribute. Their explorers ignore our rightful claims to resource-rich systems. It is time we reminded them of their place in the galactic hierarchy." Murmurs of agreement rippled through the younger delegates. The humans had only joined the galactic community 50 years ago, and many species still viewed them as newcomers who needed to learn respect for established powers. Their technology seemed primitive compared to the energy weapons and faster-than-light drives that other civilizations had perfected over millennia. But in the back of the great chamber, Elder Counselor Zephyra of the ancient ethereal collective remained silent. Her translucent blue form shimmered with age, and her silver eyes held memories that spanned over 800 years. She had seen the rise and fall of dozens of galactic empires. She remembered things that most species had forgotten. "Ambassador Thexon," she said, her voice barely above a whisper yet somehow carrying clearly to every corner of the vast room. "Before you proceed with any action against the humans, perhaps you should hear the old warning." The chamber fell silent. Even among the diverse gathering of aliens, the ethereal collective commanded respect. They were among the oldest spacefaring races, and their wisdom had prevented countless wars over the centuries. "Old stories have no place in modern politics," scoffed Commander Veltar of the Rigelian hegemony. His insectoid features clicked with impatience as he adjusted his ceremonial armor. "We live in an age of science and military might, not fairy tales and superstitions." Zephyra's form brightened slightly, a sign of deep emotion among her people. 400 years ago, the Karathi Dominion controlled 47 star systems. They were masters of quantum physics and dimensional engineering. Their battle fleets could shatter moons, and their shields could withstand the combined firepower of entire armadas. They were, by all measurements, the most powerful military force the galaxy had ever seen. She paused, allowing her words to sink in. Several older delegates shifted uncomfortably in their seats, remembering fragments of ancient history their species had tried to forget. The Karathi encountered a small human exploration fleet in what they considered their territory. 3 ships, carrying maybe 200 humans total. Scientists, diplomats, peaceful explorers studying stellar formations. The Karathi decided these humans would make interesting research subjects. They captured the entire fleet without firing a shot. Ambassador Thexon crossed his massive arms. What happened to them? Were they rescued by a larger human force? Did Earth pay ransom for their return? "Nothing happened," Zephyra replied softly. "For 73 days, absolutely nothing happened. No distress signals from Earth. No military mobilization. No angry diplomatic messages. Human merchants continued trading peacefully with other species. Human ambassadors attended social gatherings and smiled politely when asked about the missing ships." Commander Veltar's antennae twitched with skepticism. "That sounds like weakness, to me. They probably wrote off their people as acceptable losses." "That is exactly what the Karathi thought," the elder continued. "They grew bold. They began demanding tribute from smaller species, claiming that human weakness had proven that Earth's protection was worthless. They expanded their territory and prepared to conquer 3 additional star systems." The chamber was growing quieter now, as if the very air was holding its breath. On the 74th day, every Karathi installation across all 47 star systems simply stopped responding to communications. Their homeworld, their military bases, their orbital platforms, their deep space stations, everything went silent in the same moment across hundreds of light years. Several delegates leaned forward, their attention now completely focused on the ancient being before them. Investigation teams from neutral species found the Karathi territories exactly as they had always been. Planets orbiting their stars, stations floating in perfect formations, ships docked at their berths. But empty. Completely and utterly empty. No bodies, no signs of struggle, no weapon signatures, no radiation. The Karathi had simply vanished. All of them. Billions of beings across multiple star systems, gone without a trace. The silence in the chamber was now absolute. 3 days later, the 3 human exploration ships reappeared at the edge of former Karathi space. Undamaged, crews alive and healthy. When questioned about their experience, the human captain filed a simple report stating that there had been a misunderstanding, but that it had been resolved amicably. He wished the Karathi well in their new endeavors and hoped they would find happiness wherever they had chosen to relocate. Ambassador Thexon's golden eyes narrowed. You expect us to believe that humans somehow made an entire civilization disappear? That primitive Earth destroyed the most advanced military in the galaxy, without leaving any evidence? I expect you to remember the one rule that has kept peace in our galaxy for 4 centuries, Zephyra replied. Never tamper with Earth's fleet, never threaten human ships or crews, never test their patience or mistake their kindness for weakness. But the warning fell on deaf ears among the younger species. Commander Veltar stood up, his exoskeleton gleaming under the chamber lights. Respected Elder, with all due respect to your age and experience, we cannot base modern policy on ancient fairy tales. The Karathi probably fell victim to some natural disaster or civil war. Perhaps they encountered a more advanced species and fled to another galaxy. Ambassador Thexon nodded his agreement. The Vorthak Empire has studied human technology extensively. Their weapons are kinetic projectiles and simple energy beams. Their ships rely on chemical rockets and primitive fusion drives. Their largest vessels carry maybe 1,000 crew members, while our dreadnoughts house 50,000 warriors each. We have battle-tested energy shields that can deflect stellar radiation, added Commander Veltar. Our quantum torpedoes can phase through any known defense system. Our Psi warriors can influence minds across interstellar distances. What possible threat could humans pose to civilizations like ours? We have battle-tested energy shields that can deflect stellar radiation, added Commander Veltar. Our quantum torpedoes can phase through any known defense system. Our PSI warriors can influence minds across interstellar distances. What possible threat could humans pose to civilizations like ours? Zephyra's form dimmed with sadness. The same thing every extinct species has said before they vanished. Meanwhile, in the Kepler 438 system, approximately 47 light-years from New Centauri Station, Captain Elena Rodriguez stood on the bridge of the research vessel Pathfinder, watching her crew prepare for what should have been a routine scientific survey. At 42 years old, Elena had spent 20 years in Earth's merchant marine before joining the Exploration Corps. She understood both the dangers and the wonders that awaited humanity among the stars. Captain, called Dr. James Park from the science station, his excitement barely contained. The quantum crystal formations around the 3rd planet are unlike anything we've seen before. These structures could revolutionize our understanding of subspace physics. Elena smiled. The Pathfinder carried 130 of Earth's finest researchers, scientists, and support crew. Their mission was simple: explore the unknown, learn everything they could, and share that knowledge with the galaxy. Was the kind of peaceful work that made her proud to wear the blue uniform of Earth's exploration fleet. Take us into a stable orbit around the 3rd planet, she ordered her navigation officer. Begin deploying the sensor arrays. Dr. Park, how long will you need for a complete analysis? At least 5 days for preliminary scans, the elderly physicist replied, adjusting his tablet computer. The quantum resonance patterns here seem to exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously. This could be the key to faster-than-light communication we've been searching for. Elena was about to respond when her communications officer, Lieutenant Sarah Kim, looked up from her console with concern. "Captain, I'm receiving multiple transmission attempts on military frequencies. They're marked as urgent priority. Over them through." The main screen flickered and displayed the imposing figure of Ambassador Thexan. Elena recognized the species immediately from her diplomatic briefings. Vorthak. Proud, aggressive, but generally honorable in their dealings. She had traded with their merchants before and found them to be tough but fair negotiators. "Human vessel," Thexan said in perfect English. "I am Ambassador Thexan of the Vorthak Empire. You are currently trespassing in our territorial space. State your intentions immediately." Elena checked her navigation charts. According to all official galactic records, this system was in neutral territory, open for scientific exploration by any member species of the Commerce Guild. "Ambassador Thexan, this is Captain Elena Rodriguez of the Earth research vessel Pathfinder. According to our charts and guild regulations, this system is neutral space. We're conducting peaceful scientific research under standard exploration protocols." The ambassador's golden eyes flashed with anger. "Your charts are irrelevant, human. The Vorthak Empire has expanded our rightful dominion to include this entire sector. All vessels must now pay appropriate tribute before conducting any activities in our space." Dr. Park quietly approached Elena's chair and whispered, "Captain, our charts were updated just last week through official guild channels. There's been no notification of territorial changes." Elena nodded slightly and addressed the screen again. "Ambassador, we haven't received any official notice of territorial expansion through proper guild channels. If there have been changes, we'll need to see proper documentation before we can comply." Thexan's reptilian features twisted into what might have been a smile. "Documentation? You dare question the authority of the Vorthak Empire? Your species has barely learned to leave its home system. We have conquered stars when your people were still discovering fire." Behind the ambassador, Elena could see other Vorthak officers moving around what appeared to be the bridge of a massive warship. Weapon systems were powering up, and she could hear the distinctive hum of energy shields activating. "Ambassador, we mean no disrespect," Elena said calmly. "We're scientists, not soldiers. If there have been territorial changes, we're happy to leave once we receive proper authorization through guild channels." "The time for bureaucratic procedures has passed," Thexan growled. "You will surrender your vessel immediately. Your crew will be processed as trespassers. Your ship and its contents will be confiscated as payment for violating our sovereignty." Elena felt her jaw tighten. She had served in Earth's merchant fleet during the border conflicts with pirate organizations. She knew when someone was looking for a fight, rather than seeking a diplomatic solution. "Ambassador, that's completely against guild law. We are a peaceful research vessel operating under proper scientific expedition protocols. Guild law protects those who respect territorial boundaries," Thexan interrupted. "You have chosen to ignore our legitimate claims. Therefore, you have forfeited any protection guild law might have offered." The communication cut off abruptly. Elena immediately turned to her sensor operator. "Lieutenant Chen, full tactical scan. I want to know what we're dealing with." "Captain, I'm reading 23 Vorthak warships closing on our position. Heavy cruisers and battle destroyers. Military-grade weapons, quantum shields, the works." Lieutenant Chen's voice carried the tension that was building throughout the bridge. Elena looked around at her crew. These were scientists and researchers, not warriors. The Pathfinder carried only basic defensive systems, nothing that could stand against a military fleet. But she also knew something that the Vorthak clearly didn't understand about humanity. "Message sent, Captain. Lieutenant, Kim confirmed. Earth Command acknowledges receipt and advises us to maintain position pending further instructions." Dr. Park frowned. "Captain, shouldn't we be requesting immediate military assistance? Those are warships out there." Elena shook her head. "Earth, Command knows our situation. They'll handle it appropriately." 20 minutes later, the Vorthak fleet opened fire. The consequence: The first quantum torpedoes struck the Pathfinder's shields like thunder from an angry god. Captain Elena Rodriguez gripped the arms of her command chair as the ship shuddered under the massive impact. Emergency lights bathed the bridge in red, and the acrid smell of overloaded circuits filled the air. Shield strength down to 60%, reported Lieutenant Chen from the tactical station. Hull integrity holding, but we can't take many more hits like that. Elena remained calm despite the chaos erupting around her. Continue broadcasting our peaceful intentions on all frequencies. Make sure everyone in this system knows we offered no resistance. Captain? Dr. Park called out, his voice shaking with fear. Shouldn't we be fighting back? The ship does have defensive weapons. No, Elena replied firmly. We maintain our status as a non-combatant vessel. That's very important. Another salvo of energy beams struck the research ship, and this time the artificial gravity flickered for several seconds. Several crew members were thrown from their stations and sparks erupted from multiple control panels. Shields down to 30%, Lieutenant Chen announced. At this rate, we have maybe 5 more minutes before they breach the hull. On the main screen, Ambassador Thexan's image appeared again. His golden eyes gleamed with satisfaction as he surveyed the damage his fleet had inflicted on the human vessel. Human captain, your ship is disabled and your crew is at our mercy. Surrender now and your people will be treated according to the customs of war. Continue to resist, and you will all die in the vacuum of space. Elena stood up, straightening her uniform despite the battle raging around her ship. Ambassador Thexan, we are a peaceful scientific expedition. We have not fired a single shot in return. We surrender under the protection of guild law governing non-combatant vessels. Guild law no longer applies to you, Thexan sneered. You chose to violate our territory. Now you will face the consequences. The communication ended, and within minutes, Vorthak boarding parties had cut through the Pathfinder's hull. Elena watched as her crew was herded into cargo holds by armed warriors whose reptilian faces showed no emotion. The scientists and researchers offered no resistance, following orders to cooperate fully with their captors. Captain Rodriguez, Ambassador Thexan said, as he personally oversaw her capture. Your crew will be transported to our research facilities for processing. Your ship will be dismantled and studied. Perhaps we will learn something useful from your primitive technology. Elena met his gaze steadily. Our families will want to know what happened to us. They will be told that trespassing in Vorthak space carries severe penalties, Thexan replied. Perhaps this will teach your species proper respect for their betters. As Elena was led away in restraints, she allowed herself a small smile. The ambassador had no idea what he had just triggered. Back on Earth, the message from the Pathfinder had reached the highest levels of government within hours. In a nondescript building in Geneva, Director Sarah Mitchell of the Department of Stellar Affairs read the report 3 times before placing it in a secure folder marked with symbols that few people on Earth could understand. The next morning, newspapers across the planet carried a small story on page 6. Research vessel reported missing in deep space. The article mentioned that the Pathfinder had been conducting routine scientific surveys when it lost contact with Earth Command. Search and rescue operations were being organized, and families of the crew were being notified. There were no angry speeches from government officials, no demands for justice, no military mobilization that outside observers could detect. Life on Earth continued exactly as it always had. Human merchants continued trading with alien species. Human diplomats attended social gatherings and smiled politely when asked about the missing ship. To the galaxy at large, Earth's response appeared to be one of resigned acceptance. The humans had lost a ship and its crew, and they seemed to be dealing with it as an unfortunate accident of deep space exploration. As Elena was led away in restraints, she allowed herself a small smile. The ambassador had no idea what he had just triggered. Back on Earth, the message from the Pathfinder had reached the highest levels of government within hours. In a nondescript building in Geneva, Director Sarah Mitchell of the Department of Stellar Affairs read the report 3 times before placing it in a secure folder marked with symbols that few people on Earth could understand. The next morning, newspapers across the planet carried a small story on page 6. Research vessel reported missing in deep space. The article mentioned that the Pathfinder had been conducting routine scientific surveys when it lost contact with Earth Command. Search and rescue operations were being organized, and families of the crew were being notified. There were no angry speeches from government officials, no demands for justice, no military mobilization that outside observers could detect. Life on Earth continued exactly as it always had. Human merchants continued trading with alien species. Human diplomats attended social gatherings and smiled politely when asked about the missing ship. To the galaxy at large, Earth's response appeared to be one of resigned acceptance. The humans had lost a ship and its crew, and they seemed to be dealing with it as an unfortunate accident of deep space exploration. But in installations hidden beneath Antarctic ice sheets and inside hollow asteroids throughout the solar system, other activities were taking place. Conversations were held in rooms that officially didn't exist. Orders were given through channels that left no records, and certain technologies that had never appeared on any public registry began to move through space in ways that no sensor system could detect. Commander Veltar of the Rigelian hegemony was among the first to notice the subtle changes. His species had developed the most advanced sensor networks in the galaxy, and they monitored subspace communications across thousands of star systems. 3 days after the Pathfinder incident, he detected unusual patterns in quantum field fluctuations near Earth. Ambassador Thexan, he transmitted on a secured channel. Are you monitoring the energy signatures coming from the Sol system? There's something happening that doesn't match their usual activity patterns. The Vorthak ambassador was too busy celebrating his victory to pay attention to sensor readings. His fleet had captured an entire human crew without suffering a single casualty. The prisoners were already providing valuable intelligence about Earth's exploration programs and scientific capabilities. Whatever the humans are doing, it's irrelevant, Thexan replied. They've shown their true nature. When faced with superior force, they surrender without even trying to fight. Earth will pay tribute to the Vorthak Empire, or they'll lose more ships. But Commander Veltar wasn't convinced. His instruments were detecting quantum signatures that shouldn't exist according to known physics. Energy patterns were appearing and disappearing across multiple star systems in ways that suggested technology far beyond anything the galaxy had seen before. Ambassador, I think you should look at these readings, he insisted. Something is definitely wrong. 72 hours after the Pathfinder had been captured, every Vorthak installation across their entire empire simply stopped responding to communications. Their homeworld, Vorthak's Prime, their military command centers, their orbital defense platforms, their deep space colonies, everything went silent in the same instant across 15 star systems. Commander Veltar's sensors registered no weapons fire, no explosions, no energy discharges of any kind. One moment the Vorthak Empire was broadcasting on thousands of frequencies, and the next moment there was nothing but empty space. Investigation teams from neutral species arrived within days to find the most puzzling mystery in galactic history. Every Vorthak world was exactly as it had always been. Cities remained intact, with no signs of battle or destruction. Spaceports still contained ships in perfect working order. Government buildings stood undamaged, with official documents still sitting on desks where they had been left. But the Vorthak themselves were gone. All of them. Not just the military forces, but civilian populations, scientists, merchants, even their domestic animals. 15 star systems containing billions of beings had been evacuated so completely that not even bacterial cultures remained in their laboratories. The investigation teams found warm food still sitting on tables. Personal belongings remained exactly where their owners had left them. Computer systems continued running normally, maintaining orbital stations and planetary infrastructure, as if their operators had simply stepped away for a moment and would return shortly. There was no evidence of violence, no indication of struggle, no trace of advanced weapons. The Vorthak Empire had simply decided to leave, taking every member of their species with them and cleaning up so thoroughly that not even a stray hair or scale remained behind. 3 days after the Empire vanished, the research vessel Pathfinder reappeared at the edge of former Vorthak space. The ship was completely undamaged, its shields and hull showing no signs of the battle that had disabled it. The crew was alive, healthy, and in good spirits. Captain Elena Rodriguez filed her mission report through standard channels. The document was brief and matter-of-fact. Encountered territorial dispute with local authorities. Situation resolved through diplomatic channels. No crew injuries. Mission objectives completed successfully. Recommend system be classified as neutral territory going forward. When pressed for details by Guild investigators, Captain Rodriguez explained that there had been a misunderstanding about territorial boundaries, but that Ambassador Thexan had ultimately recognized their right to conduct peaceful research. She expressed hope that the Vorthak had found suitable new territories for their expansion, and wished them success in their future endeavors. The Guild investigators noted that Captain Rodriguez seemed genuinely puzzled by questions about what had happened to the Vorthak population. As far as she was concerned, they had simply chosen to relocate to other regions of the galaxy. She hoped they would be happy in their new homes. Back on New Centauri Station, Elder Counselor Zephyra called an emergency session of the Interstellar Commerce Guild. The vast chamber was packed with delegates from every major species, all desperate to understand what had happened to one of the galaxy's most powerful empires. "Fellow beings," she began, her translucent form glowing brighter than anyone had ever seen before. "We gather today to remember why our ancestors established the one rule that has kept peace among the stars for 400 years. The chamber was silent as death. No one clicked, chittered, or whispered. Every being present hung on the Elder's words. The rule is simple. Never tamper with Earth's fleet. Never threaten human ships or crews. Never test their patience or mistake their peaceful nature for weakness." She paused, allowing her gaze to fall on each delegation in turn. "The humans do not conquer territory like warrior species. They do not negotiate through economic pressure like merchant civilizations. They do not rule through fear like military empires. They simply exist, and they protect those they consider their own." A delegate from the Andromedan Trade Consortium raised a tentative appendage. "Honored Elder, what exactly are humans? How do they have such power while appearing so primitive?" Zephyra's form shimmered with what might have been sadness. "I do not know. I do not think anyone knows, and perhaps that is for the best. What I do know is that species who threaten human crews do not get second chances. They do not face military retaliation or economic sanctions. They simply relocate to places where they can no longer cause problems." The chamber remained silent for long minutes. Finally, another delegate asked the question that everyone was thinking. "Where do they go?" "I hope for their sake that it is somewhere peaceful," Zephyra replied. "But I suspect that is not a question any of us want answered." As the emergency session ended, and delegates filed out to contact their home governments, a new understanding spread throughout the galaxy. The humans were not the primitive species they appeared to be. Behind their simple technology and peaceful demeanor lay something far more ancient and powerful than anyone had imagined. Trade routes were immediately rerouted to avoid any systems where human ships might be present. Military patrols received strict orders to offer assistance and safe passage to any Earth vessel they encountered. Diplomatic protocols were updated to treat human representatives with the highest levels of respect and courtesy. And in the empty systems that had once housed the Vorthak Empire, automated beacons began broadcasting a simple message in every known language. By order of the Interstellar Commerce Guild, these territories are reserved for human scientific research. All vessels are advised to maintain safe distances and offer assistance if requested. The message concluded with a line that would become legendary throughout the galaxy. The humans asked for nothing but the right to explore in peace. Those who would deny them that right will find peace of their own, in places far from here. Captain Elena Rodriguez never learned the full extent of what her simple distress call had triggered. She continued her scientific missions, studying quantum crystals and stellar phenomena with the same curiosity that had driven humanity to reach for the stars. She treated alien species with kindness and respect, offered help to those in need, and shared her discoveries freely with anyone interested in learning. She represented the best of what humanity could be. explorers, scientists, and peaceful ambassadors to the galaxy. But she also carried within her genetic code the legacy of something far older and more mysterious, something that would protect her and her crew no matter how far from Earth they traveled. The galaxy had learned its lesson. Some rules existed, for good reasons, and the rule about Earth's fleet was the most important of all. It wasn't just a warning about human military capabilities or advanced technology. It was a reminder that some species had earned their place among the stars through means that others couldn't understand. And wisdom lay in accepting that ignorance rather than trying to test its limits. After all, there were some questions that were better left unanswered, and some powers that were better left undisturbed. The humans seemed content to explore, learn, and share their knowledge with anyone willing to accept it peacefully. In a galaxy full of conquest and conflict, perhaps, that was the most alien thing of all.